What's good, YouTube? Carify King here. So today, guys, I wanted to bring you my store championship winning Beelzemon deck profile. This build was updated for the um, restriction list that went into effect this month. So yeah, you guys know I love Beelzemon. You guys know that it's the deck that I'm definitely going to continue to play throughout the rest of the time in Digimon. And the changes to the ban list really did affect this deck. But I wanted to show you guys what I was able to take my store championship with and kind of just explain a few things about the deck going forward. A lot of the deck may look similar to a lot of different builds and whatnot. And that's because this deck does have kind of like staple cards and ways that you want to play it, but I do want to explain a little bit more into why I think the hit to the Impmon was a little bit more impactful than what people gave it credit for initially, but the deck is still really strong and it's still very functional. Starting off, I'm still running the 4 Yamon eggs. I did extensively test out the Pagumon eggs, and if that's your style preference, sure, but that style felt really high risk for kind of the same ish type of reward. Plus, I like the thing is that I think that there's a call to be more of a focus on your level 6s even more so now, and the Pagumon egg doesn't let you mill. And sometimes if you have a stack where you don't really have the inheritables you need in order to mill, like you don't have the Wizardmon eggs, you don't have the Impmon eggs in your stack, then you're not really going to have any of that inheritable milling without the an egg like Yamon. And if you're on your starter deck Beelzemon, which is actually a very good card to go into, and I'll talk a little bit more about him as well, he doesn't really get his abilities. He relies on something else to get his abilities. Just like when you summon him off of a Ballmon effect, well, he doesn't, do any other milling, so you're going to need another source to mill to activate his abilities. But Yamon just lets your level 6s go off when you attack, and your opponent can't just destroy it or something like that and then force you to mill. The combo where you can swing your Ballmon dies, you use Ballmon to bring back the Beelzemon, and then Pagumon to mill too. I think that that's a cute combo, and that's great and all, but it really didn't come up super often, and I just felt the Pagumon was just less effective in a lot of different scenarios and a lot of different matchups than what Yamon brings to the table. So running for Yamon. So for the Impmon build, we're going to go with 1 EX2 Impmon, 1 starter, 1 set 6 Impmon, 3 Impmons from BT2, 4 Impmon X, and 4 of the starter deck Impmons. So really, there wasn't the biggest change. Really, all we did was we had to take Impmon, EX2 Impmon down to 1. I just put in 3 copies of the BT2 Impmon because it's still a card that lets us mill. The security Impmon doesn't really do anything for us. This card allows us to have a nice early gameplay. You can call it out to the board if you don't really have anything else. So instead of like when you would call out this Impmon to get your search and things like that, this Impmon now can come to the board and just be a body for if your opponent wants to remove it, we can mill. Otherwise, it's a body that we're going to throw into the security. Now, still running the BT6 Impmon because I do like the ability to have a little bit of toolboxing in here to be able to spawn that off like a Beelzemon, get your Beelzemon X back, get the Beelzemon back, and discard a card to drive. And this can also like pitch your 7th clusters and whatever else. So it's actually a very solid card for what you want to do, but it's really only a one of because you're only going to use it maybe once in the game. Really, you're only going to use it once, and really it's just to grab your Beelzemon or Beelzemon X so you can continue to progress. Obviously the Impmon X and Star Deck Impmon are like your bread and butter, so that's not changing. Now, what I want to talk about when it comes to the Impmon EX2 Impmon is that, yes, a lot of people focus on the fact that when you mill it, you can ramp between 0 to 3 cards. You can mill an additional 0 to 3 cards, right? Which is great. The ramp is really what sold everybody on this card and what made this deck extremely fast. So hitting our speed with ramping hurt a lot, but what a lot of people fail to realize is that this was also a really good card in general on 2 other fronts. One front is being able to search out a card with Beelzemon in its name, and your Iron Mako. And you guys know how important Iron Mako is to the current build. The new Iron Mako is to Beelzemon. That card, once you get one on the board, it really sets you up. That one extra memory, the fact that you can put a card back and so you can at least have a non-RNG mill because you set it up with Iron Mako is extremely important. And this card being able to just play it out, then get your search and be able to hit that, like hitting Blast Mode, hitting Beelzemon X. There are times during regionals, and I'll notice that I'll talk a little bit more about how my regionals performance kind of like affected the way I wanted to build the deck. But like in regionals, it's like, shoot, I play this card out, I found the Beelzemon X, I found the Blast Mode. Now I have my in-game pieces to do that. But now that we only have one, we don't have a lot of that search capability anymore to get to those cards in hand. Plus, you only have one, so you need to decide, depending on what your board state is, whatever it is, you need to decide, what do you want to do with this Impmon? Do you want to play it and get your search? Do you want to digivolve it in the raising area? Do you want to wait to get an Iron Mako to the board or a Wizardmon to put this back on top so you can mill an additional 3? You only have one, so I found that calling this card out with the Beelzemon is, when you trash Beelzemon like early game, so you can search for your pieces, it's pretty effective to get another usage out of him. But otherwise, yeah, it's hard. The other thing is that 3000 DP, that actually kind of matters because it let Beelzemon hit over certain things, like hitting over Quartzmon and certain things like that. So now we have like Witchmon and other things that can give it some power too. But like the 3000 DP was a little bit underrated. But really, I think hitting that search, being able to search for a piece that like your tamer that also searches and provides so many values to you throughout the game, and the ability to also more easily find one of your level 6s, whether it's Beelzemon or Beelzemon X or Blast Mode. I think that hurts as well, in addition to the ramp. So I think it was definitely a good hit. For sure. You're not really popping off turn 2 anymore. You're really going off maybe turn 3, but more likely turn 4. Definitely slow the deck down quite a bit. Now, going to the 4s, 1 Witchmon, 4 Wizardmon X, and 4 of the OG Wizardmon. So I went back to I was for the regional tournament, I was running 8, but I wanted just an additional source of mills, so that's why I put the Witchmon back in. But otherwise the lineup is pretty standard, pretty stable. Now the other thing is that and I'll explain it in the next lineup, but I want to talk about like digivolving in the raising area. But yeah, the Wizardmon Witchmon lineup, I went to 9. 9 just feels really comfortable, in terms of like accuracy of getting to your 4s. So I'm playing 1 Ballmon X Anybody. I'm playing 2 of the BT-10 Ballmon and 3 copies of the starter deck Ballmon. So this ratio is a little different. I cut one of the starter deck Ballmons for a BT-10 Ballmon, and the reason why I made that cut there and still keeping in the X Anybody, the X Anybody is in here because we're still playing the X Anybody option, which is still very strong card and another win con, and this card can help us get to that win con. Plus it's a mill 3, which can be fine as well. But the reason why I went to this lineup is because I found out like in regionals, playing in that high level event, that I was digivolving in the raising a lot more than I wanted to. And the reason is because the starter deck Ballmon I think is extremely good card, and again I may end up going back to 4, we'll see. But the reason why I cut it down to 3 is because yes, I'm digivolving in the raising area a lot more than I want to, just because especially early game, right? With early game, if you raise this out, bring this out here, with the hit to Impmon, you can't just ramp. You're not always going to ramp another 3. You got to hope to hit your 1 of, really. There are times when your drop zone's just not going to be set up for you, right? You may not have your Beelzemon in there. You may not have 10 cards in the drop zone. And if your opponent recognizes that, you raise out, oh yeah, I'm gonna chance the mill, get the mill with the Ballmon, get the floatability, but I have nothing to float into, or I don't have the requisite number of cards when this stat gets deleted in order to do that. Well, then then your opponent can just remove this, and now you have to research attack, which puts you even further behind where you want to be. So with the BT10 Balmon, this is a Balmon where I can just build up in the raising area where I don't like necessarily lose my float ability. And then I can raise him out. I can swing with him, proc Yamon, whatever, proc him to do his thing, and then see if I can get my setup that way. But it's just a card where I'm always going to have my float ability, and I can just go in the raising area and do what I need to do there. So that's really the biggest thing, is that against some decks and against especially early game, you don't, this card I think is better like mid game when you have more things, but this card definitely shines more in the early game phases. And if you're not really planning on floating and you just need something to mill just to get things started, then going into the X antibody is fine. But also the X antibody, again, this is the thing that can clutch you out games, being able to get this, grab the X antibody, swing with the X antibody underneath, and then warping the Beelzemon X is still really strong. And then for the level 6s, so I went running 1 copy of Beelstar. You already know me and Beelstar. 2 of the X antibody, 2 of the starter deck Beelzemon, and 2 of the EX2 Beelzemon. This lineup has not changed. I really do still like this lineup. There's now I have been considering playing another copy of the starter deck Beelzemon just for a little bit more since more top end play, but that's something I'm going to test up. But I'm still very comfortable with this lineup here. And the Beelzemon X antibody, because he's just just that good. Now I put in the Beelstar here, and the Beelstar here is an interesting card. It actually helped me out in the store championship, because it's a card I just wanted to go back to with certain changes and things like that. I just wanted to see how well this card would work in the deck. And my boy Magnetimon, one of my, considered my rival for Beelzebub, but no, he's a great player. He kind of opened my eyes to this card again as well. She really just kind of allows you to control the board a little bit. Establishing her on the board, especially before getting out, when you get out this Beelzemon, I think they're both of these on the board on a are a pretty deadly combination. But she's another card where you can like Digivolve into her, and then if your opponent swings, you get an extra mill, you get to spawn an extra body. So I think what she does is she helps keep your board full, keep you have an ability to put things onto your board. This lets you summon an Impmon that can proc his on play or something like that, so that you can get your search off. This can set up your starter deck Impmon if you need be. Overall, this Beelstar has honestly worked out pretty well, and just utilizing her is great. And then obviously when like late game, you can drop her, like for instance, like you have 20 cards in trash, you don't really have the best play, but you can still drop this Beelstar, and then if your opponent, you pass turn, if your opponent does attack, that means I get an M onto the board, I get a mill. And I think in my red hybrid matchup during my store championships, by having her out, I was able to mill. I milled like a Wizardmon, put an Impmon on the board, gain a memory from that, and I stole my opponent's turn. And stealing opponent's turn gave me the chance to actually go in and clutch out the game. So I just think that the Beelstar really helped out, and I really enjoyed the performance that she was able to provide. And so that's something I want to keep testing out and playing in the deck, because I did enjoy going back to her. Then I'm playing the One Blast mode. Again, my win con has been, and it still is, Beelzemon X. Beelzemon X is still the win con, as far as the main that you want to go on. But then having the One Blast mode has worked out perfectly fine as well. Being able to grab this off Rival's Barrage, grab this, if you can search it out with something good, and just this is a card you hold into your hand when you're ready to press for game. Otherwise, he's there. Then for options and tamers, 1 X antibody, 2 7th full clusters, 3 Rivals Barrage, 4 Deathslinger, and then 3 Iron Mako to round out the deck. The X antibody is still, again, I've talked about it before, it's still a win con, still really strong. The double 7th cluster, this card is so good. I love this card. You'll notice that, especially with the way that Bandai's been supporting it, Greymon has been getting a ton of support. Even if they get hit on a restriction list, they're still getting more support. The protections, this deck has an issue with blockers and cards, and things with protections, and that's what Greymon does, what Dark Knight does, and things like that. Having the 7 full clusters, especially when you get both in the drop zone, really help. One, it's a card that can go back into your deck, so it can help prevent you from decking out. Two, it's a card where it's like, just by digivolving into the Beelzemon X, whether it's early game, mid game, whatever it is, it's a card where it's effectively free destruction. I can digivolve for 1, whatever it is. I can put it to the bottom and blow up something. And if you can put 2 in the drop zone, it really helps to mow down the protection when you're staring at a 20k war Greymon with blocker and redirect unsuspend, being able to knock out its protections by going to Beelzemon X, burning security, putting 2 back in, blowing up 2 protections on them, I think it's just really good and really clutches out the game. So I really like what 7th cluster. Plus, it's a 9th destruction option between Rowell's Barrage and Deathslinger. It's a 9th option in security that you can hit to destroy things. I still like the 3 Rowell's Barrage. I felt 4 was a little bit more. When I was playing 10 of those removal cards, I felt it was a little bit more bricky than I wanted to be, so I cut that down. Deathslinger is just too good not to play a 4. It's just one of the strongest options in purple. And then obviously Iron Mako at 3. Iron Mako really carries the deck. So there's that. But that's the deck profile, guys. Hope you guys enjoy it. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll be coming at you with some EX4 content very soon. See ya.